How many times have you said, "I'm fine," when you weren't? How many times have you smiled when you were actually hurting inside? Or maybe you've told people, "Don't worry about me," while quietly carrying things no one else could see. Maybe you weren't trying to lie. Maybe you were simply trying to survive. Welcome to Pause and Respond. I'm Josh Rine, licensed professional counselor. And in today's episode, we're going to explore one of the most misunderstood forms of self-protection. Because emotional hiding usually begins as self-protection. Most people don't wake up one day and decide to become emotionally unavailable. Most people don't intentionally choose dishonesty. And most people don't spend years hiding because they want to deceive the people they love. Perhaps they hide because hiding once protected them. Because long before "I'm fine" became a habit, it was their survival strategy. Maybe there was a time when your feelings were dismissed, ignored, minimized, punished, or even used against you. Maybe you learned early that certain emotions create problems around others. That tears made people feel uncomfortable. That anger made people withdraw. That fear often disappointed people. And that needs irritated those around you. And perhaps without realizing it, you learned an important lesson. Not tell the truth, but be careful with the truth. Because children are remarkable observers. They study what brings connection, and they study what threatens connection. And somewhere along the way, you discovered that honesty wasn't always safe. Honesty feels dangerous. When love has always felt conditional. If you're easy, you'll be loved. If you're strong, you'll be accepted. If you don't need much, you'll belong. If you don't disappoint people, you'll stay connected. And perhaps people who fear honesty are often people who learned that love has conditions. Not because anybody actually told them so, but because that's what they were taught through life. They adapted. They became easier, quieter, stronger, less emotional, less needy and honest, not because you or they were trying to be manipulative, but because you were learning how to survive. And perhaps that's why so many good people become fluent in saying what is acceptable instead of what is true. Statements like "I'm good" or "I'm okay," "Don't worry about me, it's fine," "There's nothing wrong," "I'm fine." And after years, those words become automatic. And that's not because they're true, but because they're familiar. Maybe you smiled when you were exhausted, said you were busy when you were lonely, said you were angry when you were actually hurt, said that you were frustrated when your feelings were that of being afraid. You said you were tired when you were really depressed. Said nothing was wrong when everything inside of you was screaming the opposite. Because some people become experts in translating pain into acceptable emotions, not because they're dishonest, but because honesty to them feels dangerous. Because emotional hiding usually begins as self-protection. It doesn't start as deception, but protection. Protection from rejection, disappointment, conflict, the feeling of burdening others or appearing weak. And perhaps that's why so many people hide the things they need most. Not because they don't want connection, but because connection once felt dangerous. That's why people say, "I don't want to bother anyone," or "other people have it worse." I should be able to handle this myself. I don't want to be a burden. Underneath all those sentences is one fear, and it's not, will people understand me? It's, will people still choose me if they see this part of me? Because many people are not afraid of honesty. They're afraid of what the honesty might cost. And that's why "I'm fine" is such a powerful sentence. It protects. It protects our image, our pride, our relationships. It covers our wounds. Sometimes it even protects our fears. Survival strategies are difficult to surrender, especially when we believe they've worked, especially when they kept us connected even though that connection was at a distance. Sometimes they even kept us safe. But safety and intimacy are not always the same thing, because what protects us can eventually isolate us. And that's the tragedy. The walls we build to avoid being hurt can slowly prevent us from being known. And something even sadder can happen. After years of saying "I'm fine," you stop checking, you stop asking, you stop knowing. Because you can hide from yourself for so long that eventually you forget where you put the truth. And that's the conversation we need to have. Because emotional hiding usually begins as self-protection, but eventually self-protection becomes self-imprisonment. And that's why emotional honesty is so difficult. Not because people don't have feelings, not because they don't care, but because some emotions just feel safer than others. Very few people were taught how to say, "I'm afraid. I feel rejected. I feel insecure. I need help. I'm overwhelmed. I feel forgotten." Expressing those emotions feels vulnerable. And that vulnerability feels like impending danger. So we learn another language. Because anger feels stronger than hurt, and frustration feels stronger than fear. Busyness feels stronger than loneliness. Sometimes sarcasm even covers our sadness. In withdrawal, removing oneself feels safer than rejection. And that's why some people become experts at translating pain into acceptable emotions. Not because they're dishonest, but because they're afraid. Maybe you've noticed it. Someone asks how you're doing, and before you even think about it, you answer, "I'm good." Not because you checked in with yourself or because you slowed down to do some kind of assessment. Not because it's even true, but because the answer has become automatic. And perhaps that's what years of emotional hiding will do. Hiding those emotions removes curiosity. And then it's replaced with awareness of the habit. And eventually, even you stop asking yourself, "How are you doing?" Because you've already decided that no matter what you're feeling, the answer is going to be, "I'm fine." And that's why some people become angry when they're hurt, critical when lonely, busy when grieving, funny when anxious, strong when exhausted. Because perhaps emotions don't disappear, they just simply relocate. And whatever remains hidden eventually finds another way to speak. Sometimes it's the body that speaks first. The headaches, the exhaustion, the anxiety, the inability to sleep, the racing thoughts. the constant tension, that overwhelming feeling that something is wrong, even when you can't explain it. Because the body tells the truth, but the mouth refuses to speak. Your body has been trying to have a conversation that your words have and continue to avoid. Maybe you've even said to yourself, I'm just stressed, when you're grieving. Maybe you've said, I'm just tired, when you were feeling depressed. Maybe you were saying nothing's wrong, when inside you felt abandoned. Maybe you told yourself it was just anger, when you actually felt afraid. And after enough years, avoidance starts feeling normal. So normal that you mistake it for your personality. You begin thinking things like, I'm just independent, or I'm just private. I've always been this way. Not realizing that some people become so fluent in avoidance, they mistake it for identity. That's because their pain isn't expressed. It isn't eliminated, it's just simply postponed. And postponed pain is very patient. It waits. It sits there, sometimes for years. But eventually, it comes out. Not because it wants to destroy or harm us, but because truth was never meant to live underground forever. That's why people suddenly explode or shut down. Maybe they become bitter or workaholics. They have affairs or they numb themselves. Or wake up one day simply asking, why am I so unhappy? Not because these things appeared out of nowhere, but because the truth has been knocking for years. And eventually, the body gets tired of protecting the secrets. The heart was meant to speak, because emotions, in their simplest form, are messengers. Fear, sadness, loneliness, disappointment, grief, need, they're all messages. And ignoring a message doesn't eliminate it. The truth usually comes out. The only question is how. Will it come out through words, wounds, honesty, resentment? Will it come out through tears or anger, through conversations or distance? But know this, the truth always searches for a voice. And when that happens, healing can begin. When we stop asking, how do I make this feeling disappear? And begin asking, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Because some people don't lose their emotions. They lose access to them. And maybe that's a conversation we need to have, because the truth usually comes out. The only question is whether it comes out through words. Honesty is so much harder than people think. Because honesty isn't just about words, it's about safety. And that's why telling the truth feels terrifying to some people. Not because they're dishonest, but because somewhere along the way, they learned the truth was expensive. That vulnerability created pain, that needs created disappointment, and that weaknesses created rejection. Ultimately, they bought into the idea and the knowledge that honesty has consequences. And perhaps they made a promise to themselves, never again, right? Never again will I need too much. Never again will I trust too quickly. Never again will I let people see that part of me. And without realizing it, protection became their lifestyle. Walls are strange things. At first they protect us. They help us survive, and they may even actually keep some pain out. But eventually, if left up long enough, they filter out love too. And that's the tragedy. The same walls that protect us from being hurt also prevent us from being known. The walls don't discriminate. They stop pain, but they also stop intimacy. And perhaps that's why some people would rather suffer silently than risk being misunderstood. Misunderstanding hurts, rejection hurts, disappointment hurts. Many people decide, I'd rather carry this alone than explain it and have someone to get it wrong. And that's one of the loneliest decisions a human being can make. And that's why some people stay quiet. Not because they don't have anything to say, but because they have too much to lose. The teenager who fears disappointing their parents. The husband who fears appearing weak. The wife who fears becoming a burden. The father who fears falling apart. Or the mother that fears letting everyone down. All of them are asking the same question. Will I still be loved if you see this? If I allow you to see this? People rarely heal where they have to hide. They don't heal in marriages that they're hiding in, friendships that they're hiding in, families, churches, workplaces, or communities. Not even in therapy. Healing requires safety. Frightened hearts don't need shame. They need safety. And many people don't need better advice. They just need a safer place. And maybe that's what Mark and Sarah were missing. Not love, not commitment, but safety. For years they said, I'm fine, everything's okay, nothing's wrong. Not because they wanted distance, but because neither one knew how to tell the truth without fearing what it might cost. And eventually, two people who loved each other began protecting themselves from each other. Not because they stopped caring, but because honesty in their relationship no longer felt safe. And that is a tragedy. Two people can love each other deeply and still spend years hiding from each other. Not because the love is absent, but because the safety is absent. And that's why so many people misunderstand about vulnerability. Vulnerability isn't dumping. It isn't oversharing. It isn't saying everything to everyone. Vulnerability is allowing yourself to be known, little by little, truth by truth, fear by fear, tear by tear. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is deciding that connection is worth the risk. Some people would rather suffer silently than risk being misunderstood. Courage is deciding, I would rather be known than perfectly protected. Perhaps the greatest tragedy in life isn't being rejected. Maybe it's spending your entire life hiding and never discovering that you were safe enough to be known. Never discovering that people who truly loved you wanted the real you, not the role, not the mask, not the performance, but simply just you. Children don't need perfect parents. Spouses don't need perfect partners. Churches don't need perfect people. And the world doesn't need another performance. People don't need perfection. People need truth. Because truth creates trust. And trust creates safety. And ultimately, safety creates intimacy. And within that intimacy is connection. And that connection allows others to heal. People rarely heal where they have to hide. And that's why "I'm fine" is such a heartbreaking sentence. Not because it's always dishonest, but because sometimes it's the language of a frightened heart. And frightened hearts don't need shame, they need safety. The truth usually comes out. The only question is how. Through words or wounds, through honesty or resentment, through tears or anger, through conversations or distance. The truth always searches for a voice. And that's where the healing begins. When the truth becomes safe enough to speak, that's what you've needed all along. Not protection, not stronger walls, not another performance, but a place where you no longer have to hide. If today's episode resonated with you and you've spent years saying "I'm fine" or "I'm okay" or "don't worry about me," while quietly carrying things no one else sees, I want you to know something. You were never meant to carry life alone. And you don't have to earn the right to be honest. Because frightened hearts don't need shame. They need safety. And healing begins when the truth becomes safe enough to speak. If you'd like to go deeper into emotional health, relationships, and honesty, I'd like to invite you to visit pauseandrespond.com. There you'll find books, workbooks, articles, and additional resources designed to help you better understand yourself, work on to improve your relationships, and learn how to respond with greater clarity instead of reacting out of fear or frustration. Everything we do at Pause and Respond is built around one simple idea: that the less we let our reactions take over, the more choices we'll have. Less reaction, more choice. So if you're ready to continue the journey, visit pauseandrespond.com and explore the tools we've created to help you build stronger relationships and a healthier emotional life. I'm Josh Rine. See you next time.